And then there was the classic misstep Sonic Lost World. Everyone was expecting another boost game because that's what everyone was looking forward to after Generations. They wanted that boost gameplay, but with original levels. But instead, they decided to go for Lost World instead. Lost World, it sort of goes for adventure-style gameplay, but doesn't really work, because it adds a whole bunch of different things to overcomplicate it. Like, it brings back the spin dash, but the way the spin dash works is you have to hold a shoulder button, a trigger button of all things, to activate it, because the B button doesn't exist. I'm sure it does, but they just don't use it. Like, you have to hold the trigger button in order to make it happen. And then what the game doesn't tell you is you have to keep holding that button to make it keep going. And then hold a different trigger button in order to keep it going even more. Like, there's a good way to... Like, it's not nearly as good as SA1 Spin Dash, where you can just constantly mash the Spin Dash button and just move a lot faster. Also, like, well, I guess you can use it for spin dash jumps, but the level design isn't open enough to allow you to actually take advantage of that for cool shortcuts, like would be true in an actual adventure game. Instead, the level design is usually extremely linear. Nothing but, well, like, there's either these cylindrical tubes, there's half pipes, like in the Sonic 2 special stages. Like, the game developers decided, oh, you know the special stages in Sonic 2? Let's just make an entire game out of those. Like, the game has this weird gravity switching gimmick. Like in Sonic Extreme, only none of the people who worked on the game had even heard of Sonic Extreme. And Aaron Weber, who ran the Sonic Twitter page, he lied to the fans. He blatantly lied to the fans that the game was based off Sonic Extreme when it wasn't. How can anyone trust him when he's such a... He was just such a sleazy car salesman there. Just blatantly lies to us. Like, the game has only 4 different types of level design set pieces when it comes to 3D. Like, there's the Windy Hill Tube. Like, it's usually, like, the game loves to reuse the same piece of level design from the very first level in the game over and over again. It also likes to copy level design from Act 3 of Windy Hill as well. It has the half pipe. It has, it also has, like, occasionally it has some very open level, like, Desert Ruins Act 1 is the only example I can think of, and even then it's extremely bland. Like, there's really nothing to do in it. Like, the game in general is pretty bland, and when it's not, it's a very gimmicky game. Like, sometimes you roll fruit into blenders to make apple juice. Sometimes you roll into a snowball, and then you go through a sort of, like, you play pool. Like, it's very gimmicky, that game. Some of the levels are really cheap and bullshit. Like, Lava Mountain Act 3 is a very infamous example. Like, basically, it's a grind rails level where you have to, like, there's these bombs that insta-kill you. There's a lot of things that insta-kill you in this game. And you have to constantly jump in that level. Like, jump over insta-kill bombs and jump over, like, parts of the area where the rail breaks off. And it's not instinctive to jump on rails. It doesn't help that the rail switching from Generations, or even Unleashed, isn't there anymore. You have to sort of hold left or right and then press A. And granted, that works, but still. But yeah, the game has a run button, just like Mario. In fact, the game is basically a Mario clone. In fact, the sheer minor details in which the game imitates Mario, the game is basically Mario's creepy stalker. Like, there's so many ways that it's this ripping off Super Mario Galaxy, or like New Super Mario Brothers, with the 2D sections being so blocky and flat. Like, I counted 2 instances of loop-de-loops like, one of them sent you into a knee-high wall you had to jump over right away. And another just dropped you downwards. Like, the loop-de-loops don't even... The loop-de-loops are so clumsily designed. They don't really take advantage of your burst of speed. And even when they do, they generally just send you into a dash pad anyways. There's so much automation in that game. Like, so many dash pads and springs. Like, there's a steering section in Ice Tube where the game steers for you. Like, even though people complain about the boost games being boost to win, you felt like you were a lot more in control of your character in that game. The run button is there to make you feel like you're always in control of your character. So you always feel like you're in control of your speed. Like, Sonic doesn't really have momentum in this game. He doesn't really have a sense of momentum. He just goes from walking very slowly to running. Like, I don't know why they can't just have a walk button. Since you never really want to, like, you're always going to be holding down the run button. Unless you're in 2D, in which case, the run button is also the parkour button in this game. So, if you're holding down the parkour button, you're going to get stuck on the walls in 2D. And if you press A then, you're going to somersault, and that can send you to your death. Like, they don't always program specific surfaces to be parkourable, and so you can get stuck on surfaces you don't want to. Like, it's annoying accidentally parkouring, and the parkouring isn't really made use of all that often anyways. Which is good because it's kind of clumsy, but still, it's only really used for, like, running across two different walls that remind you of the triangle jump walls of Sonic Heroes. Or, like, it's not really used all that often. Most of the level design is just generic platformer or Super Mario Galaxy gimmicks. It's not very fast paced. The game is just boring. It has the super peel out, which is worthless, and it also has the kick. Like, that's another thing. You can't tell the difference between enemies. You can't tell when you're supposed to use the kick against enemies and when you're supposed to use the homing attack. It would have been good if, like, they brought back the badniks in this game. All the badniks are old ones. It would have been good if what they did was have the badniks be the ones you can jump into a homing attack, and have the non-badniks be the kick ones. But instead, there's no way to tell which ones you have to kick. And, like, the kick is supposed to be written as stronger, but all the Zeddy are immune to the kick except for Zavok, which suddenly you need to use the kick against him to make him vulnerable. And you have to fully charge the homing attack in order to kill him. Like, that's another thing. You can charge the homing attack in this game, but you can't choose which order you attack the enemies in. So you can end up automatically homing attacking a whole bunch of enemies, and then you end up homing attacking the flying enemy last, and then falling to your death, which happens a lot in the later levels, especially in the 3DS version, which is horrible. Like holding down a button and then watching Sonic homing attack a bunch of enemies isn't fun. Homing attacking a bunch of enemies by yourself is fun, because it feels like you're actually doing something. Was the homing attack really something that needed to be simplified? Not to mention it has a hard time even locking onto enemies in the first place. But anyways, like, it's just overcomplicated. Like, I don't know why you can't just homing attack every enemy. I don't know why the kick has to exist. And, like, the boss fights are some of the only good things about that game, because the boss fights are quick. They're done over with really quickly for the most part, because if you fully charge the homing attack, then you can kill the Zeddy in just 2 hits. Which is really good. Like, it means you don't have to deal with overly padded out boss fights. But, like, the story is the worst. Like the story, there are definitely better stories, but there are worse stories. Like, I'd rather watch the cutscenes in this game than the ones in Sonic Colors or Generations, since Generations doesn't really have a story, it's just sort of a waste of time. I'd rather watch, well, yeah, I don't know. It's like, the story is simple, but also trying to be epic at the same time, when for most of the story, it was pretty simple, and so you don't really care when it tries to be epic. It has a very schizophrenic tone. Like, it has a very overly bright and colorful art. It has a very bright and colorful art style, like Mario, but then it has the villains actually being threatening by using threatening lines and death threats. Even Eggman. So it doesn't really know what tone to go for. And it doesn't play off that. It doesn't feel like it's aware how strange it is that it has dark tones. Like, saying threatening lines and never actually going through with them is one thing. But at one point, Tails is actually threatened to be turned into a robot. Like, they actually introduced the concept of roboticization into a Sonic game. I never really liked the whole roboticization concept for Sonic. It feels very grimdark. Like, it feels like something out of a sci-fi horror movie. I don't understand how that belongs in Sonic, let alone any mascot platformer. But because a whole bunch of continuities decided to randomly start using it at the same time, like, people just accept it and want it to be in the games. Thankfully, Tails didn't get turned into a robot, but it's pretty weird. Like, apparently he reprogrammed the roboticization machine with a toothpick when he couldn't see what he was doing because he was lying on the bench staring at the ceiling, no less. And it made it so that it only dressed him up like a cyborg rather than actually making him one. And like, he's back to normal right afterwards, the next scene. Why didn't Sonic just take advantage of his new Mega Buster laser firing thing? Like Tails never does anything in the plot other than, like, restore the life energy to the planet at the end of the game. But that's at the end of the game. At least Colors has Tails try to be useful. At least there's the illusion that Tails is useful for most of the plot because he's got the translator machine. Sonic never needs it, but at least he's trying to do something. In this game, Tails is just a petulant brat. That's all he is. Like, he and Sonic have no chemistry at all in that game. Like, Tails is just such a ungrateful brat to him. He's just constantly insulting him. Sonic is just bullied the whole game. Like, I don't even really like Sonic that much in this game. He's, like, teasing the one-dimensional cliche Deadly Six, like an elementary school bully. And them being... It's not satisfying seeing him insult them because they're not even really characters to begin with. He's basically insulting a bunch of small, dumb children. Or, like, mental patients. Like, the Deadly Six are basically the 6 stereotypes. That's literally all they are. Their personalities can be described in just one word. The emo, the girl, the fat guy, the old Asian man, the generic villain, and the crazy one. The crazy psycho. Like, they're just so uninteresting. Xena could have been kind of interesting, because she didn't really like violence. Like, Zavok had to convince her to fight Sonic by saying that she was the only one pretty enough to do it. I don't see how being pretty has to do with being good at fighting. But yeah, like, maybe her disliking violence could have been used to make her not fight Sonic and help him. But no. Like, all she cares about is just painting her nails. Like, you could have easily fleshed out them. Like, had Xena, like, she's very focused on her appearance because she's insecure. And that's why she's gullible and easily manipulated by Zavok. Like, that's also why one of the characters says that she doesn't eat. That she starves herself to keep her figure. That's literally in the game. And, like, the emo character, Zor, like, it could be explained that he's an emo because none of the Zeti really like him or understand him, so he became sadistic and enjoyed their suffering. Like, that reminds me of the one funny joke that the game has. Like, Zor runs in because, like, he found out before all the other Zeti that it was Tails they accidentally captured for roboticization, not Sonic. And he said that they accidentally captured Tails instead, and all of the Zeti turn to him and go, "We know!" Sounds like a pretty simple joke, but it ended up getting a giggle on me the second time I heard it. For the most part, the game uses Colors humor, but thankfully it's a lot less frequent and toned down. Sonic does call Eggman Baldy McNose hair, but Eggman doesn't even react to it. Like, typical pawn attacking graph. They have a setup or a joke, but they have no punchline. They don't understand how humor writing works. I don't think comedy is really their thing, you know? Like, that's the thing, like, sometimes it has the childish writing of colors. Like, when Sonic and Tails, they constantly say, bite. And then at the end of it, they say to Eggman, at the same time no less, you bite. And it's very awkward. This happened during the most infamous scene in the entire game. Basically, Tails' character was completely mangled in this game because, like he has a complete mood swing on Sonic. Like he yells at him that he trusts Eggman more than me. It just, like, he goes, it's not foreshadowed at all. And it's just for one scene, and then he's back to normal the next scene. And, like, he's happy with Sonic, and Sonic is happy with him. It's like it never happened. The story has no proper sense of narrative flow. Like, one minute Tails is screaming at Sonic about how he betrayed him because he was forced to get Eggman's help. And then the next, like Sonic didn't even want Eggman's help. Eggman just followed him after he knocked the conch out of his hand that was controlling the Deadly Six. Cause, like, that's something good, is that they portray Sonic as flawed because his quick thinking made him impulsive. So he freed the Zeddy from Eggman's control. But, like, he doesn't even learn from that, though. After Tails gets captured, he said that he was too slow to save his buddy. Even though the lesson he should have been learning was that he reacted too quickly, and that's why Tails had to save him and get captured himself. Like, if he had just stopped and stayed still, then Tails would have warned him that it was a trap. Like, that's the thing, like, Sonic never learns his lesson. He thinks that he learned his lesson because he says to Tails that he'll never doubt him again, because Tails actually returned life energy to the planet, and Eggman wouldn't have done that. But it's like, Tails is portrayed as such a Gary Stu in this game. He's never allowed to be shown as wrong. He's always shown as right. He never once apologizes to Sonic for his behavior. He never apologizes to Sonic for anything. Like, he's so arrogant in this game. He's like, fixing a propeller? That's about as hard as taking a nap. And he fixes it in the same cutscene. And this was at the beginning of the game, so it just makes you wonder why they don't just fly the plane to Eggman's machine right away. I guess then there wouldn't have been a game, but, like, SA2 didn't have the problem of they could have just skipped all the levels. The levels were very highly connected to the plot. They couldn't have skipped them even if they wanted to, even though they had the tornado. It's like, and before the whole fixing the propeller thing, Tails made impossible claims about how, like, he reprogrammed a supercomputer using dishwater and stuff like that. He said that he built a TV out of paper clips, which is impossible. And, like, he says that again when he's just about to reprogram the roboticizer, when he can't see what he's doing. He's such a Gary Stu in this game. He's overpowered. Like, he's so lazy. Like, he's such a lazy character. They just turn him into Jimmy Neutron. Like, he can do anything because he's an engineer. The one time he ever made a mistake, which was actually a pretty good scene, was when he put Cubot's head onto crab meat, and that badnik attacked him because I guess that's just how badniks work. And, like, that was the one stupid thing he did, and he was portrayed as stupid for doing so. Eggman even snarked at him for it. I think it would have been a lot better if he called him an idiot outright, but, like, Eggman in general has pretty good lines in this game. He's pretty sarcastic. He's not a parody of himself like he's in Colors. Like, Orba and Cubot are also pretty good in this game. But yeah, like, aside from the goofy circus music that's playing in what's supposed to be a dramatic, serious scene, it's a pretty good scene. Although it's kind of weird how Eggman decided to save Tails. Why did he do that? Especially since, like, he tries to excuse it as, like the writers try to excuse it as Eggman saying, I'm a complicated guy. No, he isn't. He's a cliche. He's a one-dimensional cardboard box of a villain with no excuse. How? They're just trying to lazily justify how inconsistent they rate him even in one scene. Why would he save Tails? That's so out of character for him. I mean, I guess, like, no, he was planning to be the one to fix the machine. Like, he obviously had no intention of restoring the life energy to the planet. But they didn't know that. So it's like, it's not like he needed Tails around. It's just so stupid. This plot is so stupid. The Deadly Six are completely one-dimensional, which makes it really annoying how they have so many cutscenes devoted to them. There's so many cutscenes in this game, even more than Colors. Like, it feels like you see a cutscene almost every time that you start a new level. At least in Colors, the cutscenes, like, there's a cutscene for beating Act 2 of Tropical Resort. Like, there's another cutscene, and there's obviously cutscenes before every boss fight. And there was cutscenes for Act 4 of Planet Wisp and another zone. But it's not like it was after every single level got started. Like, they never explain what the Lost Hex is. Like, they never explain what the planet that the Zeti live in is. They don't explain what the Zeti are and why there's only 6 of them. And how they managed to survive if there's only 6 of them and they're apparently not related to each other. Like, they never explain anything in this game. They never explain, like, how Eggman got the cacophonic conch. And, like, Ian Flynn assumed that everything would be explained, but it wasn't. And Tails' character was completely mangled. I don't understand how anyone but the most die-hard of Tails fanboys can possibly defend that. That's just not who Tails is. Like, he's not a passive-aggressive Jimmy Neutron arrogant brat. He's supposed to be a lot nicer and sweeter and humble. He's supposed to be insecure. He's supposed to be sympathetic, naive, not a brat. The game in general is just a Mario clone. It's not really a good follow-up.